Hey everyone. So since I just released a new documentary, I thought I'd get Sargon of Akkad in here because he also just made a new documentary which was about Demolition Man and how that was mirroring our society. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about making documentaries. So how you doing, man?
I'm really good, thanks. I wouldn't be so as presumptuous as to call what I do a documentary. A lot of it's maybe a video essay is how I'd frame it. I mean, documentary sounds
Well, I
too
mean,
official.
if someone were to put that on your TV guide or whatever, they would probably call it that. I mean, that's pretty much the category, right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I didn't really think of it
There,
that way.
there's no category for in your TV guide for video essay.
True, true.
So I'm just trying to keep in those terms for what people know, and it's
Right.
like either it's a documentary or it's a
Yeah.
sci-fi or it's that's pretty much what we have. So I think your video was a documentary, even though it was kind of speculative and because obviously it's a sci-fi movie, and now you're trying to see did it come true, and it was very interesting, wasn't it?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it is. I think that there are definitely many parallels. The interesting thing is uh, the socially conservative nature of the prediction compared to
Mhm.
the socially liberal nature of what occurred. Instead of criminalizing abortion and pregnancy, abortions. The Democrats want abortion up to the point of birth and things like this.
Right.
So it's interesting that there are one or two things that are the flip, because it's the sort of conservative versus liberal dichotomy, but otherwise it's worryingly close to where we are now, actually.
It is. I mean, there were so many things that were that when you brought it up, it's like, holy shit, I haven't even thought about that. Like, even though maybe that's not so important, but it's like, yeah, we have iPads, we have cameras in every room, monitoring what we say. What was it? What else was it?
Oh, there's loads of stuff, isn't there? Like, the constant CCTV surveillance, all data across the internet being
Yeah.
recorded, monitored. It's genuinely the prediction for where technology would go was very accurate.
It was. It was really weird. I mean, I didn't when, like you said, I think you said this in the documentary. Like back then, no one really thought about it. Everyone thought it was silly, but
Yeah.
now, holy shit!
Oh yeah, I mean, like back then, like I remember when I was about 13 getting a CD player, a portable CD player for my birthday, and I was through. This was unreal. Like CDs were relatively new; they'd been invented in the late 80s, and they took off because they're good, or they were good. And now you wouldn't even consider using a CD. That's old tech. It's within 20 years that's become antique. So
Of course,
I don't
of
think
course.
anyone expected things to change quite as quickly.
No, but these guys predicted way ahead of that, and they were kind of accurate.
Yeah, very. Almost completely, actually. If you look at the iPads and those sort of things that they're carrying around, obviously they look clunky because why wouldn't they? But they're basically the same thing, basically what we're using now, and they work in basically the same way. So it's all quite prescient, really.
Right. So anyway, I thought we'd talk about the problems of making documentaries on YouTube, because that's something I would really like to do more of, and I know you've done it, and you've also had some sort of problems getting views on it. And
yeah, but my problems come from the fact that YouTube are suppressing my channel. So it's basically my videos don't get recommended anymore because YouTube are mad at me for telling jokes about certain politicians. And so but essentially I've got to abandon my main channel now, which is a shame, but it's fine. We will soldier on with alternative channels.
Yeah, but isn't that really petty?
Yes. It's really petty.
It's over now. You lost. Isn't that good
Well,
enough?
yeah, exactly. You'd think that, once the drama's all ended, then we could go back to how things are. Although saying that, I noticed that Tommy Robinson's channel, he was interviewed by Ross Kemp, who's a TV celebrity in Britain,
Hmm.
and for soaps and things like that. And I googled it and I was trying to find it, just Tommy Robinson, Ross Kemp, and the first thing that came up was Tommy Robinson's channel, and that had been essentially like, I mean, I don't know, not shadow banned necessarily, but something of the equivalent. So it's
Hmm.
demonetized. It doesn't get recommended. It doesn't show up in searches. So I was very surprised to find his video in the search. I mean, if I search now, if I just search
Wow.
Tommy Robinson,
Right.
his channel doesn't come up.
Yeah,
The
I thought
channel is
I thought he was completely banned.
exactly. But if I type in Tommy Robinson Ross Kemp, oh no, it's disappeared. It did. The first one was Tommy Robinson's response, but
Sneaky.
effectively, it's been his channel is effectively wiped from YouTube. I guess that must have slipped through the cracks somehow, but it's been rectified now.
They saw you searching for it and like, ooh, who's this?
Well, I bet a bunch of people were searching for it.
Yeah. If it was on TV, obviously, they got a big spike there, and
I haven't actually watched the documentary yet, but apparently I've heard that essentially Ross Kemp would ask him a leading and accusatory question, and then they'd just cut out Tommy's answer and they'd skip to the next accusatory question. So they're not even allowing him to defend himself. It's really disgusting.
What?
Well, I'm not. That's all I've heard.
What was that, BBC?
ITV, but
okay. So those guys are allowed to do what they want, I guess, because they're commercial. So it's not like they're breaking UK law by doing that, I guess.
No, they're not breaking any laws, probably, but it's very dirty.
Yeah, it's dirty, and they should be obviously.
They should allow him the right of reply to the questions.
Yeah.
When they're asking the question, apparently they don't include his answer. What's the point in asking the question?
That's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a dirty tactic.
Yeah.
But it's really weird though why that channel would show up all of a sudden, because I really thought that was completely banned. Like, his account was gone.
No, just hidden, so it may as well be gone.
Well, obviously, maybe you've talked to him, and because for me, it just,
yeah, I have, yeah.
Yes, because for me, it just looked like he was banned, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just one of those guys that got shadow banned to that point where.
No, his channel does still exist somewhere out in the ether.
It does exist.
Yeah. I just don't know how I'd find it. I mean, let me Google it. Hang on.
Isn't that really the kind of even more evil than being just outright banned? Because you're sitting there, you're uploading videos, you're thinking like, yeah, people can see me. Oh, I guess they don't care about me anymore. Maybe they don't agree with me anymore.
Honestly, I think there's a way of framing it that you could call it abuse. It's incredibly insidious, and it's designed to demotivate and get around the accusation of censorship. It is, of course, a form of censorship. But,
yes.
It's designed so they can essentially say, well, we didn't remove his channel, but it's like, for all intents and purposes, you did. You liars.
Yes. You it's there, but no one can see it.
Yeah, if I can't find it, it may as well be gone, right? These sons of bitches.
But he thinks it's still there. That's the evil part, because people are still uploading shit. They're still putting in work, and they're doing this shit because they think, well, people are going to see it, and this time they're going to agree with me. Meanwhile, no one is even seeing it. That's kind of evil.
I guess luckily enough for Tommy, he's got a large enough public profile that his supporters follow him on places like Telegram, where he's got like 40, 50,000 followers, which is a lot for Telegram.
Right.
But most if you weren't a well-known activist like Tommy Robinson and this happened to you, no one would know.
No, exactly, and not even you would know. That's
Yeah.
the insidious part, because you'd still sit there and think like, why are people not even watching anymore?
Yeah.
Maybe people hate me now.
Yeah, that's the part of the campaign of demoralization I really despise. Like, be honest, you know.
Yeah, then you'd really rather just have someone tell you, like, just fuck off, dude. You're banned.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's exactly it. But one thing I hate as well is there's no appeal, no restitution. You're never gonna be able to get any of this back, and they can just excuse me, they can just flush away all of this work. It's like it is in many ways like book burning, and it's very frustrating because you spend a lot of time and effort, as you know, building up your channel, building up your reputation, and you know the reputation your content has for the quality of it and whatnot. And then they can just say, yeah, fuck you, how about that? And that's it. And then you're just like, okay, well, fuck me then, I guess. So
yeah, usually in civil society, you have some sort of you can appeal and you can go to court,
you have rights.
or you can appeal that court and blah blah blah. You know, exactly. You have rights. You have rights to appeal those guys if you think those guys are assholes.
Yeah, but fuck that. You don't have that anymore.
No, you have been fined 1 credit for the violation of the verbal statute, or whatever it is.
That's exactly it, though. That's exactly it. It's just they get to decide and fuck you. So,
yeah, that line that gets me every time.
You've been fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute. I love it. It's but that's what they would want. If they could do it, they would do it.
Oh yeah, that's what makes like Alexa and Siri and all those things so scary. They're already there. It's just it just requires some fucking crazy lawmaker to pass the law. Isn't that scary?
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, there are some countries with stronger constitutional protections than others, where they can't just do these things, aka the United States. But then you get countries like mine where it just doesn't matter and you can get fucked.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure we could pass an amendment if it was really that important to people.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's 2/3 majority, isn't it? So
yeah.
So
I mean,
highly unlikely to happen.
I'm not going to say highly.
I would. I'd say it's highly unlikely that anything like that will happen in the US. I think you guys are pretty safe for free speech.
Well, I don't know. I don't feel very safe because, you know, we have constitutional protection over our guns, but they're still doing all sorts of weird shit.
That's true. That's true. You know, Beto O'Rourke is coming. Hell yeah, he's going to take your AR-15, man.
And, you know, that's not the only one, but there are so many ways you can get around that. So, I don't know. I think when politicians want to get something done, they can get really sneaky.
Yeah. But so tell me, did you find life on Mars?
Oh, you mean
yeah, because I haven't had to. You've only just published a documentary, so I haven't had time to watch it. So I want to know, man. Spoil it for me.
Spoiler alerts. We don't 100% know. No, there is really nothing new that you're going to find out in that video. I can make you sorry like that. It's just the best documentary I could make about that question.
But that's cool, though, isn't it? I mean, like Mouthy Buddha does a lot of the similar sort of stuff where you know, he's just got all this great information and he packages it really, really well. I personally think there's a lot of value in that, even if the answer is, well, we don't know yet. Okay, fine. You know, I will enjoy the documentary, I am sure.
Yes, because you know that's still the latest information that we have, and it's every couple of years documentaries go out of fashion, or they're too old just because of the style, so they have to be redone even if there's no new information, right?
Yeah.
Just for the new people to get that information, they have to be redone.
Yeah,
so that's basically the way I look at it. Okay, we still don't really know if there was ever life on Mars. But, I thought I'd give it a shot and then do this round of remaking that documentary.
Dude, I'm sure it's going to do well. I'm sure, like your quality is beyond reproach. So I'm sure you're going to do fine.
I enjoy it, and I have the good position of being not a professional YouTuber. So, I mean, even if it gets abysmal views, I'm not going to go broke.
Yeah.
So there's that. But it would be nice to do this full time, but that's probably never going to happen. But
it's risky at the very least.
Yes.
If YouTube would just if they would have a bit of robustness to their own position and say, listen, right, we don't, if you have a political problem, then you need to talk to the people you have a problem with, not the neutral platform that is just a video host for anyone who wants to host a video. Right? That's what YouTube should say. So that we're not changing anything. We think this is the best way to serve content, and it's up to you guys to deal with the way that you use the platform and you use the content.
Right. I've said this. Yes, I've said this many times. Like, there should not be a policy about who gets to have ads. There should be a policy about who gets to publish videos. Yes, if you get to publish a video, there should be ads, because that's just what YouTube has. YouTube has ads. That's it.
If you've monetized the channel, then there's no good reason, in my opinion.
I think every channel should be monetized automatically, and then if they don't, then they can register for "I want the money." But if they don't, then YouTube can keep the money.
I don't mind if they have some channels that are not monetized, like if someone, because I'm sure there are legal wrangles and stuff like that, so I can see there being a barrier to entry of some form, and the barrier to entry isn't really very high, so essentially you just have to show that you're
I don't know, is there? I mean, shouldn't they be able to put ads on anything that is on their site?
I'm sure technically they're able, but I don't have a problem with the ads.
No, but I think that's actually a good thing for them, because then they could just say, well, we put ads on everything. That's it. That's our site. We have ads. Okay, get over it. And then they won't have to worry about, like, should there be ads on this? Should there be ads on that? And blah, blah, blah. Like, they should just say,
with you. Okay. Mm-hmm. But YouTube have... Well, to be honest with you, YouTube have got the best defense they could need, and for some reason they don't use it enough, which is the people who are placing ads have got full control over the kind of content their ads go on, because they do. They can prevent their ads from appearing on controversial work. They know they can. So the adpocalypse and all this sort of stuff, that falls on the shoulders of the people placing the adverts, not the videos themselves. And everyone knows that the videos are not linked to the adverts. It's automatically served by Google, and it's not something that it's not something that's endorsed, because they don't know what it's going to come up on. It's but just place various X adverts on Y videos,
Sure, but isn't that just still the problem, though? If they would have just said, we have ads on everything, it doesn't matter, then no one would have attacked ads on that sense. They would have just gone for, like, okay, maybe you should remove this video.
To be honest with you, I wish YouTube would just show a bit of backbone and say, go. If you have a problem with your adverts that you chose to go on these videos, being on these videos, you go and advertise somewhere else. Because at the end of the day, YouTube are the only game in town here.
Sure, but then they would still be, kowtowing to some point.
I don't know. I don't think that would be kowtowing. It's like, okay, see ya. There are going to be other people who want to advertise on our site. We don't have to pander to you personally. Take it easy. We'll see you next time. And those people come back as well. A bunch of them have come back to YouTube because, lo and behold, it's the best place to be an advertiser, because you get literally millions of views for a small amount of money, because there's a lot of competition and there's a huge number of videos.
Yeah, it just seems weird to me to have a business model where you have to evaluate every fucking video, where you could just say, well, there's ads on our site.
Yeah, it is frustrating, isn't it?
And it would be so much better for everyone if they just said that, well, we have ads. Like if you log into any fucking site on the internet, there will be ads.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is or what it's for or whatever. You're going to get served the ad. You don't care. You're probably not going to go and make a big fuss if there's like.
I bet the Daily Stormer has ads. You know what I mean? Like these.
They probably do.
They're so easy to sign up.
Yeah, I've never even visited that site, but I'm sure they have some ads. I'm sure there's some assholes who have ads there, right?
I just think it's probably likely. That's all. I don't look at it either.
But I'm sure there are. Like, whatever site you go to, there's going to be ads. But somehow YouTube is going to be like, oh my god, oh yes, we're so sorry, we put ad on a PewDiePie video. Jesus Christ, man.
It's pathetic. And like I said, I wish YouTube had just taken a bit of a more firm stance about it. They didn't need to back down.
Yeah. I don't really understand what the point is of being the biggest platform on the planet and then backing down.
Yeah, you should be calling the shots, surely.
Yeah, otherwise, why be? I mean, they're obviously losing money on this. Everyone knows they're losing money on being YouTube.
Yeah, $4 billion a year.
Yeah, that's like, okay, so you're losing money and you're kowtowing. Interesting. Anyway, getting back to documentaries, how long did it take you to write your documentary?
I don't know about like individual hours because I made it over the course of probably about 6 months. In between other work I do. So I can't tell you exactly like man hours wise how long.
Right.
But
neither could I. But I thought I'd ask if you had some sort of idea.
I get what you'd ask. But it was it was quite a lot of effort over the course of like 6 months. It wasn't a small job.
Was that like something that came out directly after your Starship Trooper documentary?
I probably started it a few months after that.
But how did it pop into your head? Was it just?
It was just one of those films that I thought aged really well.
Right. So it was there in your head somewhere, but it hadn't popped up yet, or.
Yeah, I just hadn't done anything with it yet, but I thought it was worth doing because there was a lot of fertile ground there to explore, sort of philosophically.
Right.
I had a very good time doing it.
Oh yeah, that one was awesome. I remember one line, like, I don't know if you remember this, but there was something about like you unironically you want this. You remember that?
Which part was that? Sorry,
I don't remember either. It's like it was. How long ago was that? I just remember that line. Unironically,
I can't remember what it was in reference to.
I think it's like in reference to you only having to vote if you're a citizen or something.
Oh, you talking about the Starship Troopers one?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like.
Unironically, you want this. I remember you saying something like that.
Well, honestly, I think that like there are so many people who have such half-baked opinions because they've read like 5 blog posts online and they think, right, okay, now I know that Tommy Robinson is evil. And these people vote, and they vote on things that they don't understand, and they vote for people who don't understand what they're talking about as well. And I mean, the idea of universal suffrage is still in its infancy. It's not even 100, or it's just over 100 years old now. It's about 100 years old, and already we're seeing society fraying at the edges, and it's accelerated in the last 20 years or so as the internet has essentially taken over society. And so we have to kind of find some way of preventing our civilizations from breaking apart, I would think, if we want to be able to resist those people who don't agree with us on certain fundamental values. So I think we have to find some way of not just hating one another. I don't know how it's done.
No, I don't know either, but something is going to have to be done.
Yeah. We're going to have some kind of training, some kind of understanding of the way things are, and the problems that we face now. And honestly, it's social media that's doing this.
I've been saying this for years, but I think social media is driving the human race insane. But
yes,
yes.
It absolutely is. There's no question of it.
We were not designed for this.
No, not at all. And the funny thing is like people self-select so much that it just means that essentially everyone is very, very happy to live in an echo chamber all the time. And
I think maybe that's
cancer.
I think maybe that's the way we were designed to be.
Yeah, it undoubtedly has. Like when you're a tribe on a plains and you're hunting deer or something, there's undoubtedly evolutionary survival benefits to
kick out
like
that asshole who won't agree with you. Just kick that asshole out. He can die of starvation out on the plain. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's undoubtedly some group benefit there, but man, we're way past that now.
Yeah, it doesn't work now, but I understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, and social media, like it's another problem with social media is the idea of gratification, the time it takes.
Yeah.
It's instant gratification, and that's why Twitter is so toxic. People get into these, like, whenever anyone tells me about something in real life that has happened on Twitter, I just can't help but laugh. I'm just like, this happened on Twitter. I'm like, oh, wow.
What do you mean happened in real life on Twitter?
Well, when someone, like, when I was on the campaign trail, I would get, like, for my MP campaign, I would get, like, left-wing activists who, again, didn't know anything, who would come up to me and say X and X on Twitter. I was like, so? Like, they could never substantiate why it mattered. It's like, it happened on Twitter. Now tell me why it matters. It's like, well, I just didn't like it. It's like, well, fuck off then. Like, what do you want? Like, it was on Twitter. And you're like, angry about Twitter,
Yeah, that makes no sense at all.
It's so weak. And I'm just like, okay.
Weak is a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, weak is genuinely the word I think most aptly sums it all up. So it's like, why do you care about any of this, really? And if you press them long enough, like this is something that Andrew Breitbart did, and he did a really great job with it. He would just go into the crowds. His phrase was "embrace the fire," just walk through it, and you find you don't get burned. And what he would do is just go up to these crowds of protesters who turn up, saying to him in 2011 exactly the things that they'd say to us now. So the rhetoric hasn't changed one bit. And he would just say, "Oh, where did you hear that? What's going on?" And they would just say, "Well, I don't know. I haven't got an answer." And then they'd just turn away and walk off. And he would essentially be able to walk through this crowd of protesters like fucking Jesus parting, or Moses parting the Red Sea, because they wouldn't want to actually engage with like 3 questions that he would ask them about what they were saying, because they had no answers, because they weren't really invested in what's going on. A lot of the time they'd be paid as well.
Right. Yeah, so I remember back when you still had a Twitter account, you used to say that you had a bunch of gnats. Remember that?
Oh, was that me? I thought that was Richard Dawkins.
Well, maybe you used that term.
Maybe I got it from him. Yeah,
I remember that's what you called them. Yeah. That's interesting. I can certainly relate to that. Like, there's
a little leftist on Twitter, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because there's just people like who will hate you no matter what you say, because at some point you apparently said something that offended their sensibilities. And you could say that it doesn't even matter. If you could come out and let's say they're huge leftists, right? And you can come out and say, I hate Donald Trump. He should be fucked in the ass and blah, 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 whatever you want to do, right? And they'd be like, yeah, but that'd be really fascist, wouldn't it?
Well, the best example of that is Richard Spencer being cheered on The View. Did you see this?
No? What was that?
My God, right? So Richard Spencer came out on Twitter and was like, I disavow, because over the Iran stuff, he was like, I disavow Donald Trump. I regret ever supporting him in 2016. And on The View, where a bunch of, posh, fat, like older women are sat around, that she reads it out and the audience starts cheering for Richard Spencer disavowing Donald Trump. So it's like, right, now Richard Spencer's on your side, not on Donald Trump's side, and you're happy with that as a win. Amazing.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw the aftermath. I didn't actually see when they did it. Yes, I
Oh,
saw. I only saw like a 10-second clip of it, and I was like, okay, that's really
yeah.
weird. And then I sort of forgot about it. But now that you mention it, oh
It
my
was
god,
amazing. Like, I love the idea of all these fat old women cheering Richard Spencer, CNN analyst. I really hope that he gets a position on the View. To be honest, the thing is, right? He's quite a debonair man, right? So he's quite clean cut. He's good looking. He can have a polite, well educated conversation, and
sure.
he could flatter them. I bet if he was on there, he would be a popular guy on there. Just because I bet he'd be popular with all these sort of like, frumpy 50-year-old women that he could charm. I bet he could do it. It'd be hilarious. It'd be genuinely hilarious.
He looks good, that's for sure. He'd be one of those guys that would charm all the old ladies.
Yeah, no, he looks exactly that kind. And so it's like, go on, Richard, go impress them. Tell them about the peril of the white race.
Oh my god. That is
I love it.
But
what a timeline.
It is, but I was really surprised when that happened though, because I thought they'd have kind of a longer memory than that. Like,
well, the thing
that was just
he's not as bad as Donald Trump, is he? That's the thing.
No, I guess the guy who wants an ethno state isn't really Hitler.
That's literally the way it is. Like, Donald Trump is worse. It's like, man, Donald Trump is like Bill Clinton politically. Like, his policies are not radical, really. At least they wouldn't be considered radical 20
He's
years
a
ago.
mainstream politician. Politicians either want to steal your lollipop or kiss babies, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're still politicians.
Yeah.
But they don't want ethno states, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Donald Trump would never, like, he denounced both sides at Charlottesville. He didn't endorse anyone. He was like, no, they're both bad. But there are some good people on both sides, and that apparently is
that was a bad thing to say. Obviously,
people who are
you can't be inclusive. That's bad. You should be exclusive.
Yes, outside good. That's the theme of modern politics.
Inclusivity is a very tricky concept.
Inclusivity is for people who have bigots in their groups.
No, isn't it the other way around? I forget.
I don't know. But anyway, it's 2020 is already wild. I can't believe what's happening already.
Yeah. So, do you have any predictions for the election?
I actually hate making predictions, especially in the current political climate, because who knows what's happening tomorrow. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone in like 8 months' time or whenever the elections are. It's not looking bad for Trump at the moment, though, I have to say. Things are looking fairly rosy, to be honest.
Right.
The economy's good. The Democrats are absolutely collapsing. So, I mean, he must be pleased, frankly, with how things are going.
Yeah, it's impossible to say, obviously, like you say. We'll have to see.
But he seems to be doing fine.
Sorry?
He seems to be doing fine, though, like, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, he had a Twitter war. The guy died.
Well, weirdly, it looks like Trump has won the Iran question as well. Like, somehow, I don't know how he keeps doing it, but like, Iran killed 0 Americans and like 130 Iranians. It's like, okay,
that is weird.
Yeah, not the great victory the Iranian regime were hoping for, I'm sure.
No.
But Donald Trump comes out of it, and the thing is now, because Iran accidentally shot down a Ukrainian plane, a passenger jet, killing 170 odd civilians. Everyone's like, Iran, that's unforgivable. And, they're saying that out of, partisanship, really. But, like, there's no question that, the guy that Trump killed was a terrorist who was actively working against the United States. That was his job as the leader of the Quds Force. That was his sole job, is to drive the US out of the region, right? So everything that he did was an attempt to get, working against the US. And he was designated as a terrorist as far back as, like, 2002. So he's been doing this for quite some time, and so standing in his defense, I mean, he's the guy who's responsible for putting down the uprising or the protest that killed like 1,000 people as well. So it's one of these things. It's like you just have no leg to stand on with this guy. It's like killing Bin Laden. You know, it's fine. He's an enemy of the United States. Everyone can recognize this. He's a self-declared enemy of the United States. He posts Twitter and Instagram shit posts against Trump, saying, "I'm going to come and get you, Donald Trump. We're going to take the White House, blah, 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 blah." And then Trump kills him. So it's like, okay, you can't say there's a lack of justice there. You know, the guy seemed to know what he was doing. And then everything the Iranians have done have been a total backfire since then. And so it's just like, how does he keep doing it? Flukes it. I don't know.
That's a major fluking going on there.
Well, it keeps happening though. The same thing happened with his strike on the Syrian airbase, where everyone thought, "Oh God, shit's about to kick off," and then he just whacks them once. You know, a couple of Syrian soldiers die, so very minimal casualties, and then everyone just calms down and goes about their day. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess that's that dealt with, right? Okay, next, you know. So it's interesting how and the thing is, you know, that Trump is leading with his guts. You know, I don't think he's a deep thinker or anything. And so Trump's just coming out with like, right, I've decided this is the direction we're going to go in, and for the, you know, just do this, and it tends to work out okay.
It's weird.
It is weird.
No, but I think you're right. I don't think there's like as much four-dimensional chess going on as people think or say. I think there's a lot of just like, I feel like this today.
I think there's a Roman maxim called "fortune favors the bold," and I think that this existed for a reason, because when there's a conflict and you don't know which way it's going and things are, you know, looking tense on either side, taking action forces your opponent to respond, and if they do nothing, then there's no chance they'll fuck up. Basically, right
there. I'm sure you'll know this too, but I don't remember it. But there is such an axiom saying something about, you know, it's better to be proactive than reactive.
Yes,
maybe you remember that.
I can't say I've heard that one offhand, but there's definitely truth there.
No, that's not the way it goes, but maybe or whatever.
I can't remember the proper way that's framed, but there's definitely a lot of truth to this. And, you know, there's something to be said for having the initiative. And if there's one thing that Donald Trump is good at, it's seizing the initiative. Yes. So, you know, good for him.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ, those guys trying to bomb people for that. Jesus Christ. Or shooting them down. Whatever.
Yeah, I just love that their reaction was utterly counterproductive. Like they gained nothing, and there are protests in Iran now about the shooting down of the jet. People saying, "Oh, the dictator needs to be held to account" and stuff like this. It's like, oh well, that's going well in Iran. Donald Trump somehow wins again. What the hell's going on?
Well, I mean, haven't they had a lot of protests for the couple of years now? Like,
yep,
they're not super happy about all the strict Islam and all that, right?
Well, I did a stream with an Iranian who told me about the divisions within Iran. Basically, you've got the secularists, the nationalists, and the Islamists. And the nationalists and the Islamists were were joined forces very, very briefly, because Donald Trump tweeted that he would destroy Iranian cultural sites, which obviously the nationalists started reeing about. This was obviously Twitter bluster from Trump. He obviously wasn't going to do that, but like everyone started spurging out about it.
Right.
Which put them all on the same team very briefly, to a certain extent. But the thing is that unity isn't going to last, because they have fundamental differences between each other. There are fundamental things on which they disagree and hate one another over. So it's not going to last. And Trump didn't lose. And he's got also another thing he's managed to engineer for himself, which is, and again, I don't believe this is 4D chess, but he just moves in the right direction to using his instincts. But the Iranian parliament passed a resolution to disinvite the Americans from Iraq, which means that he can now leave when the situation settles down. He can leave and say, "Well, I'm just leaving at the behest of our Iraqi hosts." without any kind of like. There's not going to be any shame attached to it, and it'll be fulfilling another campaign promise.
Right. That's true. That's an interesting take.
So it's interesting how he's just lucked into having things set up that are in a way that's perfect for him. Like there's loads he can do at the moment. It's like, okay, this can't just continually be fluid.
I don't know. How many troopers do you have in the Middle East right now? Do you know?
Sorry, say again.
How many troops do you have in the Middle East right now? Do you know?
Probably not that many, but I know that we do have troops there. We did.
I suppose you have some, right? Like
we did, but there was a withdrawal. There were around 400 of them.
But we've been talking about withdrawals in the United States for a gazillion years, it seems, and there are always some still left there. Like
there are.
I'm always fucking sick of this shit. Can we just get the fuck out?
Well, the thing is, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place.
I know there's all these geopolitical considerations, and you know, if we go, there's going to be trouble, and you know, there's going to be people taking over. I know, but still, it's like I don't want to pay for this.
Well, I agree, and what the thing is, the reason the Americans are there for a couple of reasons. The first being to show the rest of the world that the United States is the one calling the shots, right? And there is a huge amount of value in that, if nothing else. And secondly, it's to prevent the Middle Easterners doing horrible things to one another, which is what they've done for thousands of years. In fact, it's kind of a long-standing cultural tradition that they have, is butchering one another. Because that's going to happen. When the US pulls out, borders will change. People are going to get gassed and shot, and it's not going to be very pleasant. It's the US that prevents a lot of that, and the Western world needs to essentially decide, well, is that going to be our job or not? And if it's not our job, are we prepared to just sit back and watch the consequences happen? And
I don't know. What have you decided?
Squeamish there.
Right. What have you decided in Britain?
No, we've still got troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, where you guys have, because we're happy to make sure that the savages don't kill each other.
So it's
there are lots of people who'd like to pull out. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm sure, and obviously, I don't really want us to be there. Like, it's not.
I don't particularly, but I just know what's going to happen if people pull out. Like. I oppose the invasion of Iraq, for example. I wasn't in favor of it. The evidence wasn't there, but we can't ignore the fact that that's happened now, and now it's going to be the Iranians taking over and butchering loads of Sunnis if we pull out. And it's like, okay, well, are we okay with that? You know, that's a known direct consequence of what's going to happen if the situation changes now. So it's just, you know. I mean, you know, if people don't care, they don't care. That's their position on that. If they do care, they do care. But it's definitely something that's going to happen, and we're definitely going to be held to account for that, even though it will be the Middle Easterners killing each other. So,
yeah, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Like, we're going to have to be called to account for that, but they're going to do the killing. Okay.
Yeah. But it will be blamed on the US.
I know. It's just. So, weird.
Yeah, I mean, you've got options. You just do it like a band-aid and just rip it off, and then just fucking say, "Well, you did this to yourselves." But
we probably should have had Lou Laveau in here.
Lou Laveau, yeah, if he's around,
because he could have. Because I love his. And I actually do agree with him on that the United States should be the hegemony of the world. That is the one point that I always agree with him on. I'd rather have the US calling the shots than China. I think that whenever we give up that's going to be a really uncertain time.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, because I've seen like I really like a guy called Michael Tracy. He used to be at the Young Turks, but he left them because they're unethical scum. And he is a very sort of anti-neocon Bernie bro, and I don't think he's thinking through the distinctions between the neocons and I guess what we could call the Westphalians, because the world order that the United States is guaranteeing is the world order of sovereign states.
Mm-hmm.
And this was established at the Treaty of Westphalia in like 1683, something like that. After the 30 Years' War, which was the bloodiest war that Europe had ever had, like 8 million people died back in the 17th century. That's a lot of people, and it was a Europe, it was a Europe-wide war, and it essentially redrew all the boundaries, restored a bunch of property, and in it, all of the signatories to the treaty pledged that they would not transgress one another's boundaries. And so what this effectively did is set up the states of Europe as we know them now, but they're not still the same as 300 years ago. But
sure.
But the states of Europe and say, look, you are sovereign over your own territory, and no state has a right to interfere with that. Whatever you do within your own boundaries. So essentially, you're turning into like mini despotisms at worst.
Right.
But the idea being, at least it's contained in one area. People have got a right to their own countries, things like that. And then you've got so I'm just going to call, for the purpose of the conversation, I'll call them Westphalians. And then we go on to the neocons, who think that the countries do not have a right to decide how their own internal politics is played out. And in fact, the Western liberal democratic order should be forced onto that country regardless of their governing system, which is the regime changes, which is why Iraq has a parliament, things like this, right? The new parliament in Iraq. So it's one of those things where it's like, do we have a right to tell them how to govern themselves, or do we have a right to tell them that they will not transgress other people's boundaries? Because they're like concentric circles of one another, right?
Yeah.
And so Michael Tracy and the other Bernie bros who are deeply anti-war and see any U.S. action as being like neoconism, I think they're getting this really wrong. I don't think that a neocon is someone who actually wants states to simply be self-governing and independent. I think they're someone who wants to tell the states how they have to be run. Whereas the sort of Westphalians, which I would put myself in the sort of Westphalian category, the Westphalians, if they want to live in tyranny, then they can live in tyranny, but they can't go around invading anyone else and imposing that on other people. Right. And I personally find myself opposing the neocons on that principle anyway.
Okay. But where does the line go between that and colonialism?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? The Treaty of Westphalia should be an antidote to colonialism. So it says that foreign states have got no right to interfere in the domestic politics of other states. Neoconservatism, well, it looks a lot like colonialism, at least political colonialism. Mm-hmm. So it's all kind of difficult. And the thing is, these things they are difficult to talk to with people because people get really emotionally invested in what's going on. It's like, God.
Well, I mean, there are just like you. I saw this video you did earlier about the what was it called? The Extinction Rebellion. And you brought up that point, like where is the line between colonialism and just Europeans telling people what to do?
Well,
you remember that?
Yeah, that's and it's a fair point because they themselves being Europeans telling people how to do things, they seem to be deeply hypocritical at the very least.
Right. Like, isn't that what colonialism is? I mean, there hasn't really been any African colonialism as far as we consider it anyway. So it is pretty much based on what Europeans tell other people to do. And now you're here as a European telling people what to do. What is that called? Colonialism.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's certainly imperialism of some form. But,
right.
But it's one of those things that essentially we need to square, and we haven't. So.
Yeah, because sometimes it's good that we do that, and sometimes it's not. We have to figure that out.
Yeah, that's the question. Are we going to be the global policeman or not?
Well, I mean, yes, that is a good question, and even I can't say if
Well,
we should or not.
the likely outcomes are that if we play the global policeman, we'll be able to prevent vast empires growing up around us that we will inevitably be threatened with. So you can see it as being like a Westphalian type. You can see it's a preemptive measure,
Right.
and so you are less likely to have to worry about the next barbarian invasion. But and this is the difference between like me and sort of the alt-right types, who are not only not neocons, but they're also utterly anti-intervention, like very much with the Bernie Bros on this. They see any kind of foreign military action as being invalid, and they would essentially turn the countries into a bunker, and outside of the borders of the country, anything could be happening. So China could literally just start invading places, and they'd say, well, no, it's not our business, it's China's business. But if you allow China to take over Asia completely, like politically, then they're not going to just stop there.
No.
You find your own strength being sapped when they do it, and you can't just allow that to happen.
No, obviously, because they already have all the manpower in the world. It's like, what? I think it's like
1.3 billion.
66% of our population on the entire planet.
It is a huge percentage.
I'm not talking about China specifically, but I'm talking about Asia.
Oh, yeah, most of it, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the default position of a human being is Asian.
Yeah, the average human being is an Asian.
People in Western Europe seem to think that everyone thinks that a white human being is the default position. No, Asians, they're the default human being.
Yeah, the average person is an Asian.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah. And this is another thing. When they talk about imperialism, I find it hilarious because, like, imperialism is something white people do. It's like, no, the average conqueror in history would have been brown-skinned. Like the conquering warlord would have been a brown man.
Like, yeah, don't do that mistake and say it's the average in history. That's stupid. Hello, Genghis Khan.
Oh, so many of them, man. So many of them.
But it's still
going all day.
It still fascinates me that he managed to wipe out 10% of the entire population of the Earth.
Yeah.
Like that is like, okay, not even Hitler could do that. Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Well, get a hold of yourself. There are so many horror stories. Like, they're when the Mongols would capture a city, like they'd have to behead like thousands of people, and so they'd just have it industrialized. They'd line the people up outside and just have their soldiers going through beheading them. It's like, Christ, what kind of person do you have to be to operate in a regime like that? It is honestly horrific. Some of the things that have happened throughout history.
But have you heard the biological facts of it?
What do you mean?
There's actually a biological fact attached to this. Genghis Khan beheaded or, killed or whatever he did. He killed so many people that he lowered carbon emissions on the planet by 10%.
So he was an environmentalist? Yes. Wow.
I'm sure we're going to be hearing about that in a couple of years.
Well, there's a silver lining, I suppose.
those weirdos you talked about today in your video.
Yeah, they'd probably say, well, that does, on balance, Genghis Khan did more good than bad.
Yeah, he did nothing wrong.
Oh dear. Right. I hate to say it, man, but I think I'm gonna have to go because it's like 12:30. So
yeah. I think we've had a nice, good, long stream anyhow. So I have a couple of super chats I have to answer to here. So I guess I'll thank you for showing up, and
I'll stick around for them if you want. I don't mind.
Okay, sure. So we have one from Carissa Messina, who says, Caleb and I are out eating, dropping by to say hello, gentlemen. A wonderful evening. Love the Mars documentary, and hey, Sargon.
Hey, man.
So, and then we have from 2A says data about us should be legally considered our property and required our explicit permission for others to store or use. I think maybe it is though. Right?
I don't know, but it would definitely help everyone if that was the case.
Well, the thing is, I think it is like legally required for you to be able to access it at least.
Really?
Right? I think so. I think there's like a law that says you have to be able to legally access all your data. I'm not sure. Obviously, there's no law that says that they can't store it, but I think there's a law that says you can access it.
Right. Okay. I wasn't aware.
I'm not a legal expert, so don't take my word for it. Let's see here. If there was anything else, I have. Oh my God! I better check in the YouTube. This new. Have you been forced to switch over to the new YouTube studio yet?
I have indeed been forced to use the new YouTube studio.
Yeah, that is such a fucking weird thing. I don't understand. I feel like a newbie again.
Yeah, I no one was asking for a change, but YouTube was like, yeah, well, here's the change. Thanks. YouTube.
Yeah, I know. I can't understand. I feel like a newbie. It's weird. I don't know. I can't see anything, but I think maybe I lost a couple of things here. How the hell do you find this in the new YouTube studio?
I actually don't know. I have to go back and choose the old one.
Okay, let's see if I can. Where do you get the old one now? There we go. Classic Studio.
Yeah.
I just have to, before I close the stream, I have to make sure there was no super chat that I missed.
Yeah.
So,
but they are going to they're going to end the use of the Classic Studio soon.
Yeah, exactly. Because now, even if you are in the Classic Studio, sometimes when you press things, it just automatically goes to the new one, and that's going to increase. So more and more functions are going to default to the new one until it doesn't exist.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a nightmare.
Super chat. There we go. Got to the old one. Let's see here. There we go. From What Is It This World Now? What is this world now? Okay. Two of my favorite YouTube voices. Thank you for your services. P.S. We don't live on a spinning globe. Gravity's a lie. Call me a fucking moron, lol. Well, you're a fucking moron. There you go. And then from Steve Carter, congrats on the documentary. Loved it. Thank you very much. And
Man,
you should
looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, you should. I'm very proud of it. But you should all you people out there, you should also go watch Sargon's documentary on Jesus Christ, I forgot.
Demolition Man?
Demolition Man. Demolition Man was an awesome movie that we all saw when we were kids, and we had no idea it had such depth. And it did. And it did. So go watch that documentary because it's really it adds all that layering and texturing to it that we just didn't understand back then. Man, I wish I would have known that when I was watching it the first time.
It wouldn't have been relevant. Like it would have seemed like, why is this guy talking about all this stuff that obviously isn't going to happen? And now, now where are we? So
that's true. Oh well. Anyway, that's an awesome documentary from Sargon about Demolition Man, and the thing that really got my noggin jogging was the thing about Starship Troopers. So you should also see that one. That thing is still up, right?
Yeah, it's still up.
Yep. No, they didn't kill that one. All right. So I think that's it. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and showing up and supporting my channel and Sargon's channels and everyone's channel. And I will talk to you next time. So take care. Bye-bye. Say bye.
Bye.